It started like many contemporary hip-hop events, not with a song or music video, but with a short video clip. Rick Ross, embodying his signature boss persona, spoke casually on camera and made a remark that sparked a cultural uproar. In his smooth, deliberate tone, he shared that he used to take 50 Cent's youngest son, Sire Jackson, fishing while the boy's mother was on Star Island creating content with Diddy. It didn't come across as a direct insult. It lacked the bite typical of a rap rivalry. However, its implications and the individuals involved gave it a much stronger impact than any diss track could. By the way, welcome to Celebrity Hip Hop Showroom, where hip hop and celebrity drama never sleep, so hit that subscribe button so you never miss the mess. Let's get into it. Ross wasn't just name-dropping for attention or trying to reignite an old feud without cause. This moment was part of a larger story, a subtle clash of ego, legacy, and masculinity that has been brewing in hip-hop for nearly 2 decades. The history between Rick Ross and 50 Cent dates back to the late 2000s, when both were at the height of their careers. Yet, this situation went beyond music. It became intensely personal. You could hear it in Ross's voice. He wasn't boasting about a hit song or a new business deal. He was reflective, strategic, and perhaps a bit spiteful. In just one sentence, he created an image that resonated far deeper than a simple insult. He positioned himself as the father figure, the reliable provider, while the boy's biological father was absent, and his mother was caught up in the turmoil surrounding Sean Diddy Combs. To understand why this moment resonated so strongly, we need to look back at the history between Rick Ross and 50 Cent. Their feud isn't new or fabricated. It dates back to 2009 when Ross took offense at a perceived slight from 50 at the BET Awards. What began as a minor incident escalated into one of the most vicious rivalries in rap, characterized by diss tracks, public humiliations, and real-life consequences that went beyond music. 50 Cent, always the calculated provocateur, brought Ross's personal life into the spotlight, most notably by leaking a sex tape involving the mother of Ross's child. This was a particularly low blow, even by the standards of rap feuds. Legal battles followed, resulting in millions in damages. Yet, more importantly, a line was drawn that neither man ever crossed again. So, when Rick Ross casually mentioned fishing with 50 Cent's son, it was more than just a display of bravado. It was a deliberate jab. Fishing is a calm, intimate activity that requires patience, bonding, and trust. Ross wasn't just saying he spent time with Sire, he was implying that while the boy's real father was absent, Ross was the one providing a meaningful experience. In the same breath, he referred to Diddy and Star Island, not with animosity, but with his usual indifference, as if he were discussing an ordinary occurrence. In hip-hop, nothing is ever as simple as it appears. By 2025, with the culture acutely aware of every word, nuance, and clip, this particular moment had a significant impact. Social media went into a frenzy. Comment sections were filled with speculation, alliances changed, and once again, Rick Ross and 50 Cent found themselves at the center of a cultural storm, not because of new music, but due to nostalgia, history, and pride. This moment also touched on a deeper topic, the representation of fatherhood in hip-hop, how legacies are upheld, and how men in this industry navigate their roles, not just as artists, but as fathers. Ross presents himself as a calm, guiding presence in his son Sire's life, which stands in stark contrast to 50 Cent's well-known struggles with his own sons. His eldest son, Marquise, has publicly criticized him for years, and now, with Ross's subtle hints, questions arise regarding his youngest son as well. It's complex, personal, and deeply rooted in hip-hop culture. What Ross is doing, whether intentionally or not, is crafting a new narrative, one where he is more than just a mogul, rapper, or businessman. He positions himself as a protector, someone who steps in when others falter. By associating this image with 50's son, he aims to reshape the narrative that 50 has built over the years, where Ross is always seen as inferior and a target of 50's elaborate and harsh tactics. But now, the dynamics are changing. Another crucial element to consider is Diddy's role in this narrative. Sean Combs has recently made headlines for negative reasons, facing allegations, raids, and scrutiny over his past actions and influence. So when Ross mentions Diddy in connection with making content with Sire's mother, he's not just referencing a situation or a moment. He's tying her, and by extension 50, to a man whose public image is currently crumbling under controversy. That's the brilliance of the statement. It conveys a lot with few words. It positions Ross as the hero, the stable figure, the dependable man amidst chaos. It casts 50 Cent in the shadow of absent fatherhood and links the entire situation to one of the most scandal-ridden figures in the industry, all without raising his voice or appearing confrontational. That's why the discussion surrounding this moment continues to resonate. For a change, Rick Ross isn't targeting anyone or getting into social media disputes. Instead, he's letting his legacy speak in a more understated yet powerful manner. He's wielding calmness as his strength. In a genre where being loud has often been the main strategy, silence can actually be more powerful. This brings up a significant question. What does this mean for 50 Cent? So far, he hasn't responded with the same fervor we've seen in the past. Perhaps he's biding his time or being selective with his reactions. Or maybe he realizes that Ross has touched on a more sensitive topic this time. When children are involved, especially presented with such serene confidence, the situation changes. Now, the audience is paying close attention. They're waiting to see if 50 will respond, but he can't use his usual tactics. No more trolling, memes, or ridicule. Those methods won't work anymore, especially when the conversation centers on themes like fatherhood, protection, and being present. Not when Rick Ross is depicted as the calm mentor, the provider, the man who took another's son fishing while others were preoccupied with seeking attention. There's also a larger commentary on how hip-hop veterans are evolving into new roles, whether they want to or not. The era of constant diss tracks and feuds for entertainment is fading. Audiences are becoming more empathetic, and the culture is changing. So when someone like Ross shares a moment like this, it resonates in a more mature, nuanced, and ultimately significant way. This isn't just about fishing, it's about who supports others. And that's what makes this moment so impactful. Ross isn't casting himself as a saint, nor is he loudly labeling 50 as the villain. Instead, he communicates through silence, suggestion, and a single statement that carries the weight of experience. In doing so, he's taking control of a narrative that has always seemed just out of reach. Make no mistake, Rick Ross has often been overshadowed by 50 Cent in their rivalry. 50 has been louder, funnier, more ruthless, and more precise in his jabs, turning Ross into a punchline multiple times. However, as we approach 2025, the dynamics have changed. Ross is no longer involved in 50's old conflicts. He's operating in a different space now. In this new context, presence equals power, and moments of silence can reveal much about one's character. We don't know how much time Ross spent with Sire, the circumstances of their meeting, or if 50 even knew about it. However, that's not the main concern. What truly matters is the image, the implications, and how people's perceptions of the situation are changing. In this culture, perception is everything. Whether this moment will lead to a new chapter in their rivalry remains to be seen. Nonetheless, it's evident that Rick Ross has made one of the most unexpected, impactful, and strategic moves in hip-hop this year, all without releasing any new music. All it took was a fishing pole, a name, a location, and a rich legacy. The streets are paying attention, the blogs are buzzing, and one thing is clear: this conflict is far from over. It's simply evolving. The men who once battled fiercely are now learning to thrive through more peaceful means. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this situation, so please share your opinions in the comments. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay updated on this story.